we were talking the other day about what was at the root, you, me, and Dave, right? What was it, Dave? We were talking about what was at the root of the change in spending family time and doing family get-togethers. And I'm exaggerating. I was saying I thought it was technology that has spread us apart rather than brought us together. But yet, in times like this, damn, the music's still playing. In times like this, it's really awesome that people can kind of come together through social media and not have to be in the flesh. We move farther away to experience new things, live places. Just because we were born in Southern California or South Texas doesn't mean that's where we need to stay because our family's there, right?
No, I agree.
So I agree with you. Like, social media is badass for that reason.
Yeah.
And it's very expensive and now somewhat daunting, just to leave it at that level, right? Somewhat daunting to travel all the way across the U.S. and be in airports with, all the restrictions and things. So heck yeah, I'm all about some social media right now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, there's always a pro and con to everything.
Word.
But obviously, I'm always going to try and look at the pro to it. And I'm definitely a person that has been able to see old friends and things like that and gain the same kind of feeling as though I'm there and watching them. And even when you see them again, you even mention it. You're like, oh, I saw that you went here and here and here on your social media. And that's just the normal now. It used to be really odd when you were like, how do you know all that? Even though you put it publicly on social media, some people were always like, well, how do you know all that? Facebook.
Are you getting the truth?
Yeah, yeah. But now it's a common thing. You just, oh, I saw that you went to Mount Everest with your girlfriend, la 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 la, and then you're like, oh yeah, I did. It was a really great trip. You don't even skip a beat that people are watching you.
And now it feels almost awkward when you get around people that you know everything about. You're like, oh my God, what do we talk about?
But
you know what I mean?
Sure.
Now we just hug it out a little bit longer. When we do see each other.
Well, I think it's always nice to get the detail of it. And social media does present a very fantastical, outlook on someone's life, how great it is and things like that. And, I don't share everything that I do. I'm very calculative, but it is very much me. It's very personal. But I don't share everything. There's still stuff that people have no idea,
Of course.
And I think that that's smart. Or do you, whatever you want to do, personally. But yeah, there's a little level of depth that you don't really reach, even as much as you try, I think. And so when you get together, even though you've seen that person, what they're doing, you're like, okay, what was really going on this day? And that happens mostly with my closest friends like Hallie and things like that. So you see a smile on her face, but it's not quite the brightest.
Sometimes whenever we get home at the end of the day too, you'll mention or I'll mention, hey, that was a really cute thing you did at the office this morning, or that was a good picture of you today. And so I think it's also cool in the way that it allows us to stay. And for the first time in my life, actually, because you see social media as an asset, like a positive, definitely something that helps build relationships, authentic and genuine as they can be, at least relationships either with clients, but even between us. This is the first relationship that I've been in where I felt safe on social media, where I wasn't going to get attacked at the end of the day because I liked and followed someone who might be an ambassador for my bottle brand. You know what I mean? Like some girl with her cleavage out and liked it and made a comment because it was forwarded to me from my marketing team and they suggested we look into this because she wants to be an ambassador, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever the story was behind it really didn't matter. The fact is it always came back to me. Do you know? And now I feel like I'm safe. Like I can actually, like I'm safe on social media.
Good.
Without having to worry about that bullshit.
I think that that's where you can bridge off into the new way of thinking, the new perspectives, especially on social media in a negative way or in a personal relationship way, because that is a big topic. I have been definitely on the other side of it because I do have a pretty large following. I've done a lot of things. I've been on TV. I've got magazines and things like that. So when I reply or comment back with a heart to someone that's a man. And
Yeah.
if I was seeing someone at the time, not you at
It
all,
can be
but
taken in wrong
it takes,
context as well.
and it can start the largest fights
Right.
over something so small. And, and I think that it can kind of bring out this overthinking when you have a lot of, like when you're looking at photos and you're looking at content, and you can it's like a text message almost. You can kind of just make anything you want out of it when you read it. It can come in any context, however you're feeling that day. You read it a certain way, and whether it be bad or good. And so I think that that's the unfortunate side to social media has been you see photos or you see something or whatever, it can always be, well, what does that mean? And how is this affecting me personally? People take it very personal. And so
Yeah.
with social media, I've always was very clear because of I've had bad experiences with it
Sure.
within a
As of
relationship.
yeah, like I was explaining as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
The way I was always like at the beginning, listen, this is my job. This
Right.
is what I do. And I love my job.
Right.
And this is a part of my brand. So if you can't handle this, then nobody was very adamant. It's kind of mean
Well,
too. I've said,
we've
I was
had
like,
these
nobody
same
fucks with my money. Nobody
conversation,
fucks with my business. You're
right?
out. You fuck with my business. You fuck with my money. And this is like,
And you have to be intolerant of
Yeah,
that kind of bullshit when you're in a
absolutely.
growth pattern for yourself.
Totally.
Because anybody outside of that forum is going to drag you down.
And it is very like, it's draining.
Yeah.
Because when you care about someone, you're like, okay, let me do my best to be authentic, but within reason and caring of you. And I think that there's a point where there's a compromise, and then there's a point when it's just overboard. Like,
Right.
Come on, and things that happen at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, I don't know. I mean, you can't stop someone from doing whatever they want to do anyway. So if you're thinking
True.
outside the box of whatever they're doing on social media, if it is what it is. So you either trust the person or you don't. And if you can't, then don't be there.
If you don't trust yourself, oftentimes you don't trust your partner either.
Yeah.
And I found so often in the situations that I'm talking about now, they were getting hit up every day, and they were responding to, messages from, I don't know, either the really wealthy or the famous versions of the majority that would hit them up, let's say. And so then, that was all of a sudden an opportunity, and I would come around to find out actually they were projecting onto me because they were wondering if I was doing the same thing they were doing.
I see.
You see my point? Because the access, and I hear this and see it in articles all the time, like access to, let's say, love through apps, dating apps, access to sex, access to people, access to just human interaction in a more sensual way over a phone, or emotional, connective, like sexual way over a phone, is you've got, I don't know how many dating apps there are, hookup apps there are
so
at
many.
this point.
Yeah.
But I just, I totally get it. Like why the insecurities or the fear or the distrust exists more so now, and particularly behind social media. But what I was saying, and I think you agree with, is that they're assets, true assets. And there's some really cool parts about it whenever you're in a relationship with someone where you feel safe on social media, which is a really unsafe environment if you think about it.
It can be.
Potential abuse, potential, really like really whacked out. I'm not going to use the language I was going to use, but really whacked out messages come through, images come through, even for me as a guy sometimes. So I can only imagine it's just the worst. Well,
you're like,
at one point,
I feel violated by these boobies.
I could put those sexy lips to use. Like I've definitely heard that one.
Ooh.
And then they send a picture of themselves on what is it, on Instagram. That's usually where I get those messages.
It's so funny.
Oh, they're trolling. Girls are trolling on Instagram for guys.
Girls are actually pretty gnar.
Yeah.
Females are gnarly.
I know.
It's so funny. The larger that my following gets, and actually even my demographic and the changes that I'm making in my own business and the direction I'm going with my brand, is I get like it's very rare to get any more dick pics these days, which is really wonderful.
What?
I don't get like the rando, like nasty dick pic.
Dick pic. Okay, I see.
But
Random people are sending you pictures of their genitalia.
bro, I used to get it all the
not cool.
time. But now it's not so much. Actually, a lot of people are more respectful during the DMs. And it's really interesting to see the switch, because I mean, don't get me wrong, I still have the voyeurs and they're there, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like I think as you get larger in your following, less people feel either that maybe you're not touchable, so they're not even going to try. And I also think that I want to attribute it to the fact that like my branding is changing and that my messaging is changing and that more people are dropping off. But I know that I still get
it is attributed to that.
Yeah.
I can personally say that I get a different feeling from your Instagram now than I did before.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we've known each other almost 4 years now.
Yeah.
And so 4 years ago, you were pretty gnar.
It was like butt naked all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And now, and then I got that feeling from you as well in your life, kind of, 4 years ago, you were in your 20s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I was still like my rager days.
Wow.
Like I was like, let's rage.
Totally.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Totally.
We had some fun.
Yeah.
So, but now the page that I see and the feelings that I get from it are totally different from then. And that might have something to do with the position that I come from and like how I know you and et cetera, et cetera. But if I take those elements and hold them static from time to time and then look at the page from a, I don't know, constructive point, I think that is what I see as well. Mm-hmm. And you know what? This brings up a thing. You were talking about you've been in magazines, but didn't you just get a gig with a mag this week?
I did. I got a feature in Skin and Ink magazine, which is really awesome because Skin and Ink is one of the bigger magazines that are still in print. Like you Barnes and Nobles can go pick one up. Yeah. And so I mean every feature is an amazing feature. It's an amazing feat.
But Skin and Ink is serious.
And I've been in a lot of magazines, which thankfully, and it's really hard to get in magazines these days. So to be in them international and national, have been published.
Word.
It's pretty cool.
Congrats, babe.
Thanks. So to get that in the middle of quarantine, when you can't take photos with photographers and you can't even meet and greet with the publishers or the people like I normally would, it's just so cool in the middle of all of this, just being like, hey, guess what? Look at this magazine you're in. And I'm like, wait, what?
That's cool. Pretty badass. Man,
yeah, so
I'm so proud of you.
Super dope stoked. Thanks, baby.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. I was really, really stoked when I heard about it. I was like, I don't know, I have this thing. I've been in a magazine once almost every last like 6 years, at least one feature. So I was like, what am I going to do this year? I kept thinking like, how could I just make sure I get my one a year? And and then this one just surprised me, bit me right in the booty, and didn't even
awesome.
notice.
You've done a lot at the shop this week too, huh?
Yeah.
What do you guys? What stage are you in? What are you working? I guess for those people that are listening, do people already know?
I think so. No, actually, I just recently announced that I opened up a brick and mortar public tattoo shop. I was currently working in a private studio. And now this one will be open to the public and they can come walk in, get tattoos, that kind of thing. But yeah, it'll be in Solana Beach. It's a beautiful spot off the PCH. So it's like the best drive. And so we're in the middle. Everything's demoed out of the space. And right now I think we're just trying to get electrical all done. And once that's done, then it's like
sheetrock's back
boogie.
up.
Yeah.
Flooring goes in.
Everything.
All the color pieces, and then you're bam, going.
Boom shakalaka.
It is a dope spot.
I know. So it's a
Dave, have you been over
to
that? Have you done a drive-by yet at her new place?
I did a drive-by with you that one day. That's the only time I've been over there.
Yeah, I showed him. We were mobbing south.
Yeah, I saw your post the other day from inside. Reese.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Thanks, Dave. Cool. I'm pretty excited, and Dave's artwork is gonna be all over the place in the shop because I just love Dave's artwork. So I have one big piece that I'm going to actually put in there, my Sid Vicious piece. That's so dope. I have a Sid Vicious piece done by a really good friend of mine. He's on Instagram. It's like Molotov Gallery. That's his name. And he's awesome. Does these really, really cool paintings. If you've ever been to downtown San Diego, most of the pop art paintings are his.
Really?
In all of the buildings and a lot of the restaurants, especially the more modern ones. And what's it called? And even in parking lots, like really nice parking structures. So yeah, so he's everywhere if you've ever been down that way. But I'm going to put one of those paintings up in the new shop and a bunch of Dave's. And I think it'll really give it that like elegant tattoo experience as opposed to just here's a tattoo shop. So I want it to feel a bit different.
I've had 2 people come in here and ask if the one that Dave just sold with the first one with feathers in it, how much it was and if it sold yet. And the unfortunate part is I had to tell them that it sold basically the same week that we hung it up, within 2 days when you hung it up, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had sold before I even hung it up.
Yeah.
So,
man.
Yeah, pretty stoked
That's
on the whole
awesome.
thing.
Yeah,
myself.
yeah. I'm stoked to see his stuff in your space because I've seen the space and I can kind of like envision what it's going to look like in there, and it's going to work.
I do want it to be an art gallery.
For
It's
sure.
like the Edge Ink.
Yeah.
Ink art apparel kind of thing. And that's like the whole vibe of it, is just to make sure that you bring along, you have your art, and you have people that if they don't want to get tattooed, they could still come in the shop and just check out some stuff.
Right.
And I just want it to feel very communal and open, but also very, nice and elegant in its own right, in an edgy way, because, we're still tattoo artists.
So many things to think about when you're starting a business.
It's a lot. I have a lot on my mind.
And these are
time.
the soft side. And the cool part, I think, about what you're doing here is you have an established business and brand, very established business that already makes a killing. And you move that into a brick and mortar space. So the revenue stream magic, you figured that out already.
Yeah.
Your skills and your talents are so unique and like on another level, as you know, because, well, I'm one of your canvases.
Yes.
But you're bringing that into the space, which just means expansion is on the like as soon as you step foot in there. So you get to think about these little details on ambiance in the beginning of opening the doors, which is so fucking cool. Because a lot of times when people open up doors, they got to think about, how am I going to get people in here? Not that you're not going to have to think about that.
Of course.
But people are going to follow you because you didn't go that far.
I'm so lucky to have loyal clientele.
I wouldn't say lucky. I would say you worked your ass off for it, girl.
I did.
It's a fortune, I see. Not to correct you. I'm just saying.
No, I appreciate it.
So fortunate.
But I did work my ass off for it.
Fuck yeah, you did. And you still do.
And I still
don't
continue.
Stop working. That's the thing. Yeah, there's a lot to think about.
Always. And like I have 2 artists that work with me in my current studio space, which it's so funny. When I opened up the private studio, I was like, only me. I'm so done with other artists. And I'd worked in a lot of shops. I work in conventions. There's like hundreds to thousands of other artists. So I always like to come home to like myself. But then it just randomly, I just started picking up strays off the street. I was like, gosh, why does this kid keep knocking on my door? No, Colin and Jackie are both the bee's knees.
Amazing.
We have such a cool family dynamic. And in my new space, I actually have an extra chair for travelers and for a new full-time artist. So I know we're going to just be super picky about who comes in because it's our home, you know, and we have such a cool family dynamic where we really understand each other on a really cool level. We're all very creative. We're all very hardworking, dedicated. And, it's just one of those cool things that happen to happen. So I get to take them with me, and they're younger than me, about 10 years.
Yeah.
So, to have that first experience of a brick and mortar shop, especially for my apprentice, Jackie, she's only worked in one setting, which usually you start out as like a turn and burn artist, and then you try and gain your clientele that way, where she's kind of working backwards, where she's gotten the whole
apprentice, a full-on
Apprentice,
apprentice
right.
experience from an entrepreneur who started the shop, built her own brand, et cetera, which is a different entry to the industry.
Yeah.
Probably more comprehensive, dynamic,
Yeah.
creative, more engaging with someone who, you know, a closer connection between the leader of a business and an aspiring artist.
Yeah.
Being an apprentice is there's a huge value that's priceless that comes with that, but there's also a priceless element of starting up hard like you did in a not hard necessarily, but in a different, more hardened community
Sure.
where
Yeah.
you don't, you know, get the apprentice connection
Mm-hmm.
as much as you probably are able to in your situation.
Yeah, I was very hands-on with her. I had promised myself prior, because I had taught someone else how to tattoo and kind of just let them do their own thing. And he wasn't very fond of that approach. He wanted me to be there and help him. And I thought, you just, you know, me, the way I was taught was like, here's a machine, go. Don't fuck up.
That's a
you
little
know?
hard,
And I was
though.
like, oh gosh, you know, and I'm like shaking, like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
So, and I remember just even crying my first time because just the fact that it was over, and I'm such a perfectionist and I don't want to hurt anybody. And so, but the guy,
Boy, has that changed. Every time I'm down under the nail, you're like, "Meh, can you feel that, babe?
your elbow was on another
Can you
level.
feel that, babe? Holy. Meh.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No.
But no, at the time it was funny. And no, it was a great first tattoo. It definitely showed me that I could do it.
Yeah.
And thank goodness.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, again, you get a lot of confidence by being coached the right way.
Totally.
There's no other way to say it. Having a great coach or a great mentor is, or even a good one. It doesn't even have to be a great one, right? But willing to spend the time with you and has a skill set that's different from yours or, you know, specific in an industry. It's so helpful. And I've learned that time and time again. Whenever I take on new clients, I'll have a whole new team to work with. So I have to start over fresh. They're teaching me stuff and I'm teaching them stuff. But that interaction and the commitment to that person or that group of people, if it's genuine, you're in the mix with them. And it's not like, hey, here's the floaties. I hope you can swim in a pool full of sharks.
I mean, both approaches are you learn a lot in both
Totally.
ways. And I, even for Jack, what I mean is that, like, you know, she got the by appointment only lifestyle, which is so you don't do that in the beginning. You turn and burn, you take anything you can get pretty much. But I was very adamant about keeping her in a very niched style because I was like, listen, it might take longer to grow your clientele, but you will get quality clientele if you do it this way. And I know it's hard because at first, even for me, I would tattoo anything.
Yeah.
Anything to make money because I just needed to pay my rent. That was that's all I cared about. And if I couldn't pay my rent with that, and then I had to like turn and burn or save or do something. But anyway, it was just so I would take anything, but it took me so much longer to find my style, my tattoo style that really said, you look at the photo and you're like, hey, that Reese did that. You know, that's a Reese tattoo. And that's what I've always wanted, but it takes longer because you're doing so much and then you're getting booked out in the styles that you don't want to do. But you keep taking them because you have a mentality for you're hungry.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. I'm going to eat. So I got to do whatever I got to do. But with her, I could take her the way that I think that will help her in the long run.
Sure.
So I hope anyway.
Well, you know, do what we think was best in the moment and see what gives. And I think she's having, I mean, every time I see her work, it's clear that there is a commitment to quality there.
She's very committed to quality.
Every time I see her while she's working, she's happy.
Oh, I know the look on people's faces, especially for her and for Colin, when I see them do like a dope tattoo that they felt that was a little above their normal, you know, where they feel like they took a step in the right direction for themselves. Like you have that feeling, you feel that.
Yeah.
And when I see that in them, it like restokes my tattoo stoke. Because I've been tattooing for 8 years. And, you know, sometimes you forget that like, dang, like I tattoo on people. I draw on people all day long.
Right.
Like, how dope of a job is that?
It's pretty gangster, awesome. I'm not going to lie.
And
you're changing someone's life forever.
forever. They trust me to do it. They're cool, and they pretty much let me do whatever I want. They just give me a foundation, and I'm like, let me run away with it creatively.
Mm-hmm.
And then here I am. I'm like, what did I do? Oh, I just put awesome flowers on someone for life that they love because it was, a tribute to their grandmother and their mother and their sister, all their birth flowers, their birth month flowers.
That's so sweet.
So cool. That's so cool. And then I get to walk away that day, with a great income, a great day's worth of money. And I drew on someone all day. I got to do what I love doing. So their stoke.
I can vouch for that part.
Stoked. Yeah.
I can vouch for that part because when I watch you at night as you're sitting there on the couch just giggling your head off while you're drawing these flowers and all this crazy stuff, and you really get into the moment, and it's funny because you're quite vocal about it sometimes when you get off into your head. Yeah, that look right there. That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's for the next day's piece, and you just really, it's a cool process to watch and witness unfold.
I enjoy it a lot. And it's actually funny. I've been spending a lot more time on my designs. Not that I haven't been before, but just differently.
Yeah.
And in a more organized way. I don't know why, but it's been helping my creativity flow even better.
Yeah.
So I always try to find that way. But you actually helped me a lot in that. I've never met anybody that worked more than me. So
oh boy. That's funny. In the last 12 years, I've heard more people say that to me than I've ever said it to someone, much less.
Oh, I couldn't see you saying it to someone because you work 25 hours in a 16-hour day. I'm like, how is this possible?
I've met people in my industry that work more than I do.
Yeah.
A woman, I won't mention her name. I don't know that she wouldn't care, but she is truly an expert in her field. Single mother. Had a daughter young and made her way up from, I think, a file admin clerk all the way up to a senior director. And she'll be a VP someday. I've almost always reported to her and worked with her on projects for the last 12 years with one of my clients. And she is one of my most trusted, I trust her as a business partner more than any other business partner that I've had. She's French, and she grew up in a parochial school, a very, very strict parochial school where her parents sent her off, and she didn't see anyone except for this really a dungeon style of boarding school where, it was extreme discipline, extreme studying, extreme, make the best part of yourself better. And so she lives and breathes that now. Bless her daughter's heart, because she's a wild child. But so is this person I'm referring to in her own essence. When the books are closed, you've got to find a way to let it all out,
to decompress. I think what I'm more impressed with the way that you handle it, and I tell people this all the time, because you always you always call me at the end of the night, and I always tell you, and I'm always very adamant to let you know, just let me know where you're at, but I know you're working most of the time, so you're gonna come home late. I don't care. I don't care what time you come home. I'm
a psycho. I get it.
And but what I like about it is that the reason why you do work so late too is just because you do take time out of your day to go for that drive, or maybe you go 2 hours into the surf, but most people, and this is what I find so fascinating about you, most people are 9 to 5, and after 5, I ain't doing nothing else. And then I'm going to go surfing or do whatever. You take your full day and you're like, all right, I'm going to go have lunch over here, and I'm going to sit outside. I'm going to take this moment for myself. Then I'm going to go back to work. And then I'm going to go surfing for 3 hours. Then I'm going to go back to work. So you break it up.
Yep.
And as much as possible, try and be spontaneous about it with your meetings and stuff like that being around it, already planned. But
I have my best ideas when I'm on my breaks.
Well, I think most people do, but we never take, our minds don't, it's when I'm done with work or tattooing or whatever, not me personally, but I noticed with other artists or just other people in other jobs, they're after I'm done with this, I'm not go back to work, or I don't
Yeah.
take a break and then go back to work. If I eat dinner, I'm on the TV couch or I'm on the couch watching TV and that kind of thing.
Do you want to know something really creepy?
Maybe.
The reason that I have gotten into this pattern
Yeah.
is because it works
Yeah.
really, really, really well for me. But at the end of the day, you don't have a wind down period, a technical wind down period. It's like, boom, your head hits the pillow and you're fucking out. Right?
Right.
And then sometimes you have restless sleep.
Right.
Right? In my case, I'm and here's the creepy part is that's why I'm so intrigued and interested in this new cognitive learning topic, okay?
Okay.
And this hypnosis and meditative topic. I'm serious.
I know.
I'm not going to go off into that, but what the creepy part about it is I believe that if you compress work, data, information into a period of time, and then you put it down and you completely whack your brain out in surfing for 2 hours, right? When I'm in the water in those 2 hours, I get my best ideas about what I was just working on. If I have a question, I work it out in the surf. If I come out of a meeting and I'm feeling upset or like I fell short or, I should have done more research on the topic before I entered that discussion, I didn't have time between meetings to catch up on the topic. So it took them 15 minutes to re-explain the information to me before I could even be truly engaged in the topic. It's because switching gears is somewhat difficult for the mind, and I'm narrowing the time frame that is required for me to switch gears by taking breaks because my mind isn't so tired. So what I'm doing is like I'm pressing really hard on the gas pedal, right? And then I just switch it into a different lower or higher gear. It's not that I ever put the brakes on. And that's what people are like, you got to put the brakes on. I'm like, that's not the way it works. If you're going in a direction and you don't want to stop, because there's really no reason to stop, you just put it in a different gear. Slow it down, speed it up, but there's a gear that the mind is set for that's good for doing this and doing this. And so it's not about pumping the brakes or slowing down or resting or stalling, not in my mind anyway. I just feel like you can put your mind into a different gear for what you're trying to do, like rest. It's just a different gear, but you're creating and working in that moment when you're in a heavy rest. So how can you constantly be mentally active and engaged and create and think, right? When you're surfing, when you're working, when you're taking a lunch break on a patio. It's by sort of taking your thought processes and applying the activity in your brain, resting your mind at lunch or while you're surfing, but in a creative space still, leveraging a dense period of time of information gathering. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally does.
So I'm trying to test this out over the last few years to see if you really need like what's called rest. Okay? You need to rest the body, you need to rest the mind, but you're actually really thinking unconscious thoughts during that phase of unconsciousness.
That's why I think meditation is actually a better form than sleep. Because you are practicing to clear your mind, but it's intentional. Whereas when you're sleeping and you have thoughts, let's say you just looked at your phone right before you went to bed, you're having all these like imageries or words or whatever bright lights going on in your brain, you're firing off while you're closing your eyes, you're resting, quote unquote, or sleeping. And you're like, you wake up and you're like, I just got 8 hours of sleep, but I feel completely tired.
Right.
However, after a 10-minute meditation, I feel completely rejuvenated.
Exactly.
And so I totally get where you're coming from, because you're almost so in the moment while you're surfing, while you're running, while you're doing something, that you are in it to win it. And then when you come out of it and you have that euphoric feeling of endorphins overflow chemically, your ideas just somehow pop up.
Yep.
Because when you're waiting for that next wave, and then you get on the wave totally in the moment with the wave, and then another idea pops up. I totally
It's
get
like
that.
putting
That's
your mind
fucking
into a
awesome.
different gear.
Yeah.
And then choosing how much gas,
Yes.
and then choosing mentally how much gas to give it when you get into that gear. You could have a cruising gear,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could have a crunch time gear,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And crunch time gears, evolve. You gotta really push on the gas sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just an interesting thing. So thank you though
You're
for
so
saying what
welcome.
you are saying
Yeah.
about I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's more of an experiment at this point, to
For
be quite
me,
frank.
I think it's really enlightening, and the way I understand it is that for me, I even notice it in myself that I'm like a 9-to-5er. Once I'm done tattooing, I'm done with my day. That's why I wake up so early to get all the work done before I tattoo, and then the tattoo at the end is done.
Mm.
But before actually, before you and I started engaging with each other's bodies, and just kidding.
Whoa.
Sorry, babe, that went sideways
Whoa.
really quick. Before you and I got back together, like hanging out in a romantic way, I started thinking about how experimenting myself and thinking about where I thought more creatively, what times during the day, and I started to realize that I couldn't force myself to do a lot of my more creative things, at night or something or in early in the morning or something. I was trying to find a sweet spot, and I was noticing it was always after a tattoo, and it was always after 4 or something, but maybe eating and things like that get into play.
Wait, let's talk about this. So you have a most creative point right after you have a tattoo?
Yeah. It's just really weird. So what I've been doing, and this has been a pretty good practice for me, is that after I'm tattooing, which I normally don't like to tattoo much after 5 to 7, anytime after 7 is going a little too deep for me, and I'm getting tired, my hand hurts. That's about a 9-hour tattoo that day. I mean, from the time I start. So it's a long day. Normally I won't do that. But if I can have my night 8 and on, I can be pretty creative. But my favorite time to draw is actually around 5 and 6, because for some reason it's I don't know, I just ate. I've just gotten into my house or my home, and all of a sudden I sit out on the balcony, get some fresh air, and boom. I think it might be that first one thing's done.
The breath of fresh air.
ready.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that stepping onto the balcony part,
Mhm.
getting outside, taking your shoes off, getting connected. I posted some stupid post on Instagram today about just put a smile on your face
I saw
and
that.
look up into the sky. Don't look at the cars. Don't listen to the crazy honking and the noises of the street. If you can get away from that, try to. But if you can't, just perspective, we forget so much. And I thank you for this. The more time we spend together, the more perspective I gain on differences in perspective, right? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I'm learning more and more about this every single day. And I mean that with most respect that I possibly could. Do you know what I mean?
I know you do.
And so at the end of the day, what I'm learning is really perspective is so critical. You need another perspective every day, and it changes the rest of your day.
Absolutely.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And so when I'm in here in this box, working on meetings all day, what'll happen is I hit a breaking point when I got to surf. I got to go have lunch on a patio somewhere. And sometimes if I don't have time, oftentimes I don't have time to do that. I'll walk out of this front door and I'll look up at those 2 trees I took a picture of.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just take in a deep breath of fresh air and watch those trees move back and forth. And there's no power lines. There's no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sometimes that perspective of nature only, and think hard about that sometimes just for 30 seconds changes the next 2-3 hours of my day.
I totally agree. And I think you do, and you have to take, I think the whole taking off your shoes thing is it's critical.
Yeah, I'm not wearing shoes right now.
You don't wear shoes. I know you're not wearing shoes. I would have guessed that. You never wear shoes, but I appreciate that because it's grounding. And I don't know, there's just something about breathing a full breath of fresh air in, or just breathing a full breath in general, it just can really, really just change the game of the trajectory of your day. And so
I'm doing it right now.
What, breathing really?
Let's do it together.
How'd that feel?
Really good.
Right?
Yeah.
See, you're gonna put some people. We're gonna start doing that. They're gonna
Man.
go. You're gonna catch a bunch of people listening or watching this, and they're gonna be like,
yeah, well, I hope so. Try it, y'all.
Bro.
Yeah, put some headphones in and go outside and listen.
I actually really liked that. I think it's your post anyway on social media, because I saw it and I was
I'm so good at the social media, you guys.
But I mean, just as a friendly reminder, it's so nice to get them, because you could be aware and very, into your mental health and your mental growth. But sometimes we forget to just do one simple thing by looking up. A lot of people don't look up. We're always looking down because we're always looking down at our phones and things like that. So I really liked that.
Especially now.
Oh, my neck hurts.
It's hard to think.
I was talking to you about this last night.
It's hard to think about things looking up when things feel hard, like the podcast with Al, right? He's struggling to find inspiration to paint, because he's kind of locked in and he's a live artist.
Yeah.
That's his vibe.
That's how he feels most creative.
On stage with a reggae band and thousands of people around, and the thump and the feel of that energy, of the people like him in the vibe, and so with all of that, not going to go there, but to sometimes, in practice, and that's why I share those things, is it's really important to me to get into nature every day. Even if it's, just as far as stepping out of here and looking up at a couple of trees and thinking about that intensely for a moment. Yeah. It's really cool.
Well, it's meditative because you are intently looking at the trees swaying back and forth, being like, this is exactly what I'm doing. You dumbed it down to a point of, I forget the name of this type of meditation, but it's with your eyes open. And the only thing you do is when you hear, like, let's say you hear a car, you just say, ears. And if you smell something, you just say nose. And when you see something, you just say eyes. So like you just see, and I'm like, what am I focusing on? And so that's what you're necessarily doing. So you hear the rustle of the trees and it's just like ears. And that's what you say, because you say it in the moment. You're not thinking of what actually is rustling. You're not describing it. You're just using the part of your body that you're focused on. So like if something drives by, ears. I don't think about the drive by. I don't think about that it's a car or whatever it is or what color, nothing. Just ears. And then you see it's like eyes. And it's
I wonder
really
what the purpose of this exercise is.
I think because sometimes
I am geeked out right now.
Think about it this way.
Think about this.
So I read a little bit about it and about the person that had, was in this, and it's on the Calm app actually. It was really cool. But it was basically what happens is that some people can't sit still or can't like close their eyes and clear their thoughts.
That's me.
So that's what happens. So they actually need a little bit of
simplicity,
some movement. And so when you see, so instead of focusing on the car driving by and thinking about that car and then thinking about all the other things that's going on in your mind, you just hear or see, and you're just like, see, but you don't move. Like you don't like move. You just like sit and just be. And then you just allow like your sensations in your whole body start to fire.
I'm going to talk to my therapist about this.
You should, because even like on your skin, you start to feel more like you feel the little breeze coming across your skin. So you just like skin, or like, it's like feel. And I think you just choose the word that you utilize, like hear or see, or you can do ears and nose and things like that. And what it does is instead of you focused on what's happened, you say it and then you bring yourself back into the moment of what you're doing. So it's interesting. It's a really cool thing. I did it for a while and I was like, this is pretty cool. And I was doing it even when I would walk to the coffee shop. I was like, no phone, don't bring my phone, don't bring a book, don't bring anything. Have my coffee mug in my hand. And I just kind of like walk, and each foot all the way down, making sure even my toes could feel the ground, and just really, really, really intently. It's cool.
I need to try this, but I'm going to look into it because I
should.
want to understand. I see some significant benefits like in this practice already, just listening to you talk about it, particularly for people that have PTSD, I think, because the sounds around you, you're trained in, well, police and military folks. I don't know about the police, but I'm sure they go through that too. But in the military, in the infantry anyway, when they drop you somewhere and you're somewhere, you need to, and it's dark, you can't see anything, and you don't have night vision or you can't use night vision. The point is you have to adapt to your surroundings as fast as you possibly can. It's the open desert, it's a jungle, it's a mountainside, it's a street market, right? But when you're there, you have to be fully engaged in all of your senses. You become an animal, essentially,
Yeah.
right? You
It's
have
just
to
instinct.
become instinctually driven, but leverage all the muscle memory of your training to react or act, hopefully act instead of react. And so in that, you're training, like you're training yourself to adapt to those senses, and they train you to take the first, I think, 2.5 minutes, if you have the time, to just sit and basically meditate and take in the air temperature, the smells, bring your vision. It's kind of like when you turn the light off, you can't see it all, but then it takes about 1 to 2.5 minutes for your vision to come back, depending on how drastic the contrast and the brightness of the change, not contrast, but the brightness of the change was. Have you ever done that exercise before? Or if you've been in a forest and you've been in a car and the lights were on, you were camping, you close the doors, and now you're in the forest and you can't see anything because there's no moonlight, but it takes you 1 minute to 2 minutes to really start to pay attention to how you feel differently. It's a really cool exercise to do. I do it in the morning sometimes whenever I wake up, if I'm alone in the bed, because it takes a minute, but it's a really cool thing to do. The coolest thing is in my last therapy session on Friday, she started recommending bringing that practice back. We talked about this topic, actually. It's weird that it comes up again. But she said, something that you need to do is start baking into your morning wake-up practice was, what's up, dude? Baking into your morning wake-up practice is to feel the texture of the blankets. Think about how your hair is feeling laying on the pillow next to you, right? As a morning meditative, get settled into your day that way. Never done that before.
But I mean, it's exactly what I'm talking about. It's just being intentional and literally like laying there and feeling the blankets and what kind of blanket is actually on you. And because you have like 10 million different types of blankets.
Joshua Tree blankets. Woo-hoo! Love them.
I know, but you could tell the difference.
Oh my gosh, they are so amazing.
Yeah, they're really, they are really amazing blankets. But I think it's a really intentional way of going about it. I think that's the reason why you might even like getting your head rubbed in the morning. I think everybody likes getting their head rubbed in the morning. But like, you know what I mean? Because you just feel like it's like that feeling, like it's like an intentional feeling that you feel and you're focused on, and you're not yet thinking about what you got to do or not yet thinking about. And then if you are, it's like slowly slipping in instead of being like, I got to do all these things. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're easing into it.
Yeah, you're easing into it.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. Man, did we get off topic?
I know.
I'm so good at that.
It was like social media all the way down the rabbit hole.
So what's next on the shop? What's next?
Well, it's currently we are kind of thinking about a bunch of different things on how we want to promote and market the shop. Obviously I want to brand the shop in the right way and things like that. But we are thinking about having like a YouTube channel.
Yes,
for the shop
yes,
like
YouTube.
We'll see how it goes. But we're kind of thinking of like how we want to direct it, like the direction we want to go with it, because we don't want to just throw anything up just to throw shit up. I don't want to waste anybody's time, and I definitely don't want to be wasting
That's not your style,
my time.
number one. Number two, you've created such an image of your current brand and the shop, and just in your art, like it's clearly going to be epic, whatever it is.
I'm excited.
I'm so excited to see what comes of that.
I'm really excited.
And so want to help too, man.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Sweet baby.
Definitely.
So I think right now it's just getting in there and seeing where, the pandemic will take us
Mm.
because right now, currently in California, Southern California, nobody can work. And that's okay. You just pivot, you just move to a different direction. I have a lot of things going on in my life, so I've always got something to do. So this is a great little time to be. But to just be.
So here you are opening a shop during a global pandemic where your industry is the first to hack off the block of businesses to be open.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I know.
That's balls, girl.
I've got big balls. So this is the way I think of it. It's the opportunity was too perfect. I've been meaning to open up a public brick and mortar shop for years. And the times that I thought I was going to, step all the way through and make it to the finish line, something just fell through. And it always had something to do, or oftentimes had something to do with traveling, because I'm a traveling tattoo artist. That's how I've made a name for myself. My brand, it gets bigger that way. You just networking outside of where you're normally networking, you're always going to grow much faster. It's just the way it goes. And so I just wanted to keep building my brand. I still loved traveling, and I was a little afraid to get married essentially to a space, and that means to a city, because that's a big commitment to open up a brick and mortar
for someone
shop.
who travels 9 months out of their year too,
Exactly.
right?
Mm-hmm. And so the pandemic happened. All travel halted in 2020, and all of the sudden I get this random phone call about this opportunity on this space, which actually 3 years prior I had seen before for sale or for rent. And I was like, that would make a great tattoo shop. I remember seeing it and saying it, and even getting out of my car to look at the building. Like, I've seen this building before already.
It is a dope spot.
It's a dope spot. So it's already been a tattoo shop. It was a tattoo shop for the last 10 years.
And you're flipping that shit upside down.
I know. So most people
like, it's
kept
not
the
what
layout.
it was.
It won't look the same.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm taking walls down, doing the whole nine, because I want it to look a certain way. I didn't want to just make do. And so it was worth it to me to invest and do that. And, basically put skin in the game, essentially.
Because I'm a baller.
And so, but yeah, during the pandemic, it was such a good opportunity. And I was like, you know what? I know, there'll always be ebbs and flows and trials and tribulations and, valleys and peaks wherever there's going to be a lot of up and downs no matter what the circumstance is. It's like, here's the opportunity, just fucking do it.
And we work it out.
Let's work it out. Exactly.
We work it
You just put
out.
one foot in front of the other and just keep moving forward, and it'll show you where you need to go.
Yeah.
And if you don't get to that spot, you turn around, do it the other way. Like, just figure it out. So for me, it was like, yeah, I know I'm not working right now, and I know we can't be working, and I'm not even sure if I can open the shop when I want to, because what if we still can't work? But at the end of the day,
You
I'm
can
so
just tattoo
and
me the
proud,
whole time
baby.
for the next 3 months.
It's good. It's good. We quarantine together. Okay?
Exactly.
But for me, it's one of those things where it still feels really good, and it feels very natural, even though there was a lot of things. It's my very first time. So I've never dealt with contractors, lease people that own their own buildings. It's different.
It's personal.
It's very personal, and I didn't know that.
During
I thought
a pandemic, when they're looking for a revenue stream and things are unstable.
Let's variable, stack.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many things.
And it could be so many other things going on. So why not now? So it just happened for me that I was like, we'll figure it out when we get there.
And just to be clear, when you say why not now, it's easy to say, but you've done the math.
I was just about to say, I don't walk into anything blind.
It's not reckless.
It's not reckless.
Yes.
I'm very calculative, and I do prefer projections, and actually you helped me a lot with that.
I just want to make sure that the listeners don't think that you're just throwing all this time and money at a plan because you're passionate about it. That is it.
Right.
But
no, I was going to bring it up.
The intricate discussions and calculations and all of this has been involved. Yeah. And I think that's important to
It truly
consider.
is. You have to do the math. You
Mhm.
have to do the projections. You have to look and be very honest with what you make, how much you make it, what's your
And the
average, all these
risks
kinds
that
of
come
things.
with a potential reoccurrence of a
A
pandemic.
And you helped me with it. So we calculated it all out. And I've done further and further research, of course, on my own
Sure.
end. And why not now? So after all that,
Perfect.
after all the calculations, it just made sense to just keep going. And it's still very scary, but I remember it being like, there was parts of me that was like, jump out of the plane, don't stay in the plane. Like, this is crazy pants.
I'm just saying, what's it like to launch a business in a brick and mortar spot in an industry where they've cut your revenue stream off
Yeah.
for the last 6 months with a couple weeks here, no, 4 or 5 months with a couple weeks here and there that you could actually work.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like to launch an entire brick and mortar business in this? I'm just saying you don't have the answer right now.
No.
But stay tuned, everybody, is the point, right?
For sure.
Because
I mean, if I could just talk about the only thing that I do know is that I'm very determined and headstrong, that even if by some chance whatever happens and the brick and mortar doesn't happen, that's just another learning experience. Like, it would suck
what are you
really
gonna do?
bad.
Die from it?
Exactly. So for me, I'm a successful person. Like, I just know that no matter what, I'm gonna be okay, no matter what.
Mindset.
And it really is, because yeah, don't get me wrong, I falter all the time. I'm not perfect, obviously, but when it comes to my mindset, I really I take it very seriously. And that, to a point where I'm just like, I know that if I don't have the right mindset, I'm not going to make it, because there can be times when my ego and my mind will be like, Reese, this is a bad idea. We could be doing something different. This is all your money. This is all your savings. You don't want to ask the bank for anything. So this is all we've got, and it's like, when you're putting that much money that you've saved over years, you could spend in a day, you know what I mean? And then like all this capital, all this stuff, and just believe in yourself. And you're like, all right, you have to have a good head on your shoulders, I think. Yeah. Some people could just, I don't know how people are just like, man, let's do it. And then they make it work. But I think that's the same kind of similar mentality.
Well, let's talk in 10 years and see if it doesn't, when you look back on this situation, see if it doesn't feel like, bam, I'm done. Because you'll have 3 more shops, 4 more shops by then,
totally.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you'll be opening up shops in, 3-4 months, construction, painting. You got Dave's stuff on the walls. He's doing special features for you and stuff.
Well, the whole
that's how it works, though, is like, I'm working on my 4th business now.
I know. You're crazy,
and it does. It's like left and right, bam. And now I'm looking at a 5th opportunity.
I know.
And so it's, and juggling that with a 60-hour work week with clients. It's one of those things where if you inundate yourself with that, it's kind of like your first car accident. You could come out alive or you could come out dead. If you end up somewhere in between there, let's just hope you end up on the best possible end of alive as you can be. Right?
Totally.
But you know what? If that happens to you at 16 or 18 years old, the propensity of you getting into another accident, they're called accidents because you have no idea when it's going to happen, nor do you have control over it. It's an accident when it actually occurs. The next accident that happens, let's hope that you also end up on the high end of it, but your emotional connection to that second accident is going to be like, oh, this has happened before, not such a big deal. Thank God I'm okay.
I get you.
You know what I'm saying? So
totally.
The first business, the second business, the third business model, you know what I'm saying? Each time it's like, blam.
Easy peasy.
Exactly. Well, it's not easy peasy. You're always emotionally connected and it's always hard, but your feelings are conditioned now, I think, trained and conditioned to be like, oh, contractors, I got that shit. Yeah.
Like, you've been through it mentally. I'm not saying that there aren't going to be hiccups and bumps along the road, of course, but it's the experience.
Yep.
And you keep pushing and you keep pushing further. I definitely experience takes the cake with that. When you already done it once and, it is successful in your eyes, then you move on, you do another one and that kind of thing. And where I think the goal for me, it wouldn't be naturally just to have like shops everywhere. But you never know. I think it is. And not in any one vicinity. I think I want to like go
Where's your
somewhere.
next shop?
Well, I don't know why in
Someplace
my mind.
with great surf and near a beach.
I was thinking Indonesia, Bali. Like, yes. I don't know why I would want to shop out there. It's not that it's like the revenue stream is going to be huge, but
I can help.
It's one of those things where why not have a shop in places that you just find your best self? Like, I want to tattoo, be creative one day. I want to read a book and not have my phone at all. Another day, I want to be surfing out on the beach, and I want to eat good food, have a cultural experience. And all right, then I get to go back home to where? San Diego, yes. Oceanside, California. Are you kidding? Like, that's my home, paradise. Like on my shirt, paradise,
Totally.
But it's like, and then have another shop in another place that I really love going. Not just throw shops together. That's it also. It can be. I'm not going to discount it. I'm not going to say never, but it's not something that's on my mind. I always like to feel a part of things right now. You never know later.
Can I manage your shop in Bali?
Maybe, of course.
Cool.
Of course.
Can I bring a couple surfboards?
We'll have a house out there. How about that?
Okay. Yeah. All right.
We'll just be better.
Down.
We'll bring Dave and Peyton. Hey, let's do it. We'll do a podcast episode out there.
Yeah, I was just having a vision. We should have a podcast studio right next to a tattoo studio so you can see people tattooing through a glass wall while people are podcasting. You can just come around when you're done and you can podcast with your clients. You can podcast with your industry artists and stuff like that. But until we have that, feel free to use the space.
Absolutely. I love it here at the COBO Pod. It's pretty cool.
That was a fun conversation.
Yes. Wow.
I think we got through. One. Yeah, it went a direction I wasn't expecting it to go. So anyway, that was all about Reese.
That was about me.
And I love it. We took a little detour on some psychological stuff in the mind and thought.
Per the usual.
Yeah, sorry. That's my geeky little brain.
Me too. Yeah. I love it. But anywho, thanks for having me.
Tune in to Reese, y'all, and learn more about what's coming up in our upcoming shop.
Yeah.
Opening doors, hopefully when? Do you know?
I'm thinking September 1st, where that's the goal.
Per the pandemic rules of the governor of California, who is you. Sorry. We just drove by on a Saturday. We drove by on a Saturday, the lake, the lagoon over there in Carlsbad. And then these other little event spaces where people are lined up a matter of feet, inches and feet away from each other. Mm-hmm. No face masks, bathing suits, kids.
Coughing and breathing all over
each other.
And here I am,
but
I can't work.
Here are tattoo artists and salons that cannot open their businesses. I'm going to just stop there. Rethink, bro. Rethink it. That's where we're at. Rethink it, homie. All right. That's a wrap. Thanks, guys.
Bye.